Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. Let us turn to page number 249, please. The chart, table 6.2. I think the last one we discussed last week is the Panchadvara Avajana. Right? So do you, before we continue, do you have any questions with what we covered last time? All right. So let's go on to the Mind-o adverting. Right? The Mind-o adverting, we know that there is only one Mind-o adverting, which is a functional rootless consciousness. And it performs a function of Chitta Rupa, performs a function of maintaining. Can you hear me? Yes, is it clear? Yeah, okay. Performs a function of Chitta Rupa. It produces Chitta Rupa, maintains a posture, intimation, but it does not create the smiling, right? Now, what is the function of the Mind-o adverting? What is the function of the Mind-o adverting?
Does it direct the object?
Really, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Does it direct the object?
I can hear you now. Oh.
What page are we in? What page are we?
The same question. I have the same question.
249.
I think 249. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We are in the chart. Yeah, chart, isn't it, Bhante?
Yes, it is a chart, and we are at Mind-o adverting. We
There you go.
Panchadvara Avajana. Actually, before we go on to the Mind-o, can someone explain to me what is 5-do adverting? Anyone?
It adverts the object to the consciousness. It's the function of adverting, directing.
Okay.
Avarjaniya kiරීම.
Okay. Adverting the object to the consciousness.
Yeah.
To the 5 minders.
Is that accurate?
It directs. It directs.
I think when it comes to I, right, it's adverting the object or what is called it's directing, mind is directing towards the object, right? But when it comes to hearing or any other faculties, it's different, I think. Is it true, Bhante?
Let's see what the others have to say as well. So Mala said, adverting the mind towards the object. Damsiri said something. I am not sure as yet.
It is the I and no sensitivity that doesn't direct,
Yeah.
but the others does. Isn't it so? I do.
What about the others? Okay. Let's not go into the directed and the indirected, right? Let's focus on the essence of the Pancha Dwara Vachana. Hemamali, what do you have to say, Hemamali?
Mind, the object, through the I do, the mind can see, the mind is directing the object through the I do. That means see the object, sense of seeing. And from ear do, the sound, like that, 5 senses.
Okay, so then the five do adverting consciousness, what's the word that you would use? Adverts to seeing, smelling, tasting. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, through the specific doors. Eye do, sense do, ear do.
Okay. Hemali, you're saying the right thing, you're also saying a wrong thing. I don't know.
Bhante, I don't know how to explain. That's right. But there is something in my mind. 5 doors, 5 objects, direct to the mind through the specific doors.
No.
Who else wants to give it a go? Padma? Why don't you try Padma? Mokhadda.
I think I have an unfair advantage. I was listening to your talk just now. What happened? I think what you said was that it helps to, there's an activation of the Pasada Rupa, and that then it can get the consciousness to work with Manasikara. That's what I think you said. So I think I'm just repeating you verbatim, which is not very fair for others because I just listened to you. That's why.
So let's in that case, let's see, is it aversion to the object, the sense do, or to the action of seeing, smelling, tasting? So now you have 3 options: aversion to the object, aversion to the sense do, or aversion to the process of seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and I missed one, but you get the point. Which one is it? It's the MCQ now.
It's the nose and the eye. That's what I just was reading it before the class and about this 5 do adverting.
Nose and the eye vitarak wenna bෑනේ මොකද පහක්
තියෙනවා ඒ වුණාට ඒ පහෙන් දෙකක් විතරක් එහෙම වෙනවා කියලා I was reading it.
That is another discussion. Right?
All right.
What we want to know is what's the essence. So you have 3 options. Now, who says, raise your hands up, who says it is the aversion to the process?
Aversion to the process.
No.
Okay.
I say no.
Balagana Damsiri, she's
Damsiri is in trouble now.
All right. Aversion to the process, aversion to the object. Who says it is aversion to the object? Okay, Padma. Hemali is, I can't see Anoman of them, but okay. Then it is aversion to the sense door. Who says that?
I say that.
Padma, Partika Panna Padma. Okay. Nalini also says that. It is aversion to the respective sense door.
Yeah.
Right? Aversion to the respective sense door. Okay?
So we won.
Hemamali have panala dinna. Yes. All right. So the example is now, for example, the door is there, right? Let's take a physical door, right? Now for the door, now the door is closed. For the door to be opened, the hand must go to the door. But the hand going to the door does not mean that the hand sees who is at the door. But the hand is a process.
Yes.
That process is the Panchadvara Abhidhamma. Do you understand? Damsiri?
Signal again, Tire Arino.
Tire Arino.
Tire, screen.
Yeah.
On the screen, yeah.
Tire, yes, yes. Yes, of course, yes. Tire Arino, curtain. Yes, Hari. All right then. So then, yes, Mala, you want to say something? Your hand is up. No, Hari. All right. So then what is mind adverting? If that is 5-door adverting, what is then mind-door adverting?
I think it's Vottapana, which determines.
Yes, it is.
That's right.
It plays the function of Vottapana, which determines, right? So now, mind-door adverting, if you look at the table 6.2, right?
Yes.
It produces Chitta the Rupa. It has or maintains material phenomena concerning posture and intimation, right? And intimation, communication, communications, postures, and Chitta the Rupa. Now, let's leave Chitta the Rupa aside for now. How does Mano Dwara Vajana bring about postures and intimation?
In meditation.
Sorry?
In meditation, in the process of meditation.
In the process of meditation, okay. How though? How, what kind of phenomena, or how does it affect the phenomenon? Now Mala gave, she mentioned that it is Vottapana. Yes, Manodwara Vajana performs a function of Vottapana. Now Vottapana, in the Vottapana process, there is a determination which happens. Now don't confuse the word determination with Adalambana. I'm sorry, Santirna. Right? Yeah. Determination in the courses of what? There are two. Who can remember the two? Vottapana has two courses that it can follow. Lettis, Mathagada, do you remember?
Is it Yoniso Manasikara and Ayoniso Manasikara?
Yes, it is. Yoniso Manasikara or Ayoniso Manasikara. Right? Yoniso Manasikara or Ayoniso Manasikara. Now let us take postures at first. Can you put it together now? Think about a mind that has Yoniso Manasikara within it, or use the process of Yoniso Manasikara. Think about a mind that is used to the processes of Ayoniso Manasikara. Isn't habitually the posture of a person with Yoniso Manasikara and Ayoniso Manasikara, can it be different? Yes, it can.
Yes.
If a person is sad all the time, moping about and, in a depressive state, you see it within the posture, isn't it? Sometimes it is so apparent, you look at a person and there's something off, right? Not in a bad way, but that this person might need some help, some company, right? Now you see, that was Manodvara Avajana, through which the course of the mind with regards to the cognitive habit that is developed, whether an object is taken in a good way, in a way that it benefits the mind, or in a way whether it drags the mind down. Right? If I said good way, it is wrong. If I say good way, it is wrong, because then that would be optimistic. That would be to benefit a certain thought pattern. But this is to do with an outlook which is realistic yet empowering. Right? Realistic yet empowering. Even if the reality of the situation might be something that you would class as something which is sad. Right? Now the Bodhisattva, as he saw the nature of the world, he used it as a motivation to power his own mental strength, allowing for the development of the parami, isn't it? Right? So it is in that way. This is not to mean that you're selfish in any way. No, the resilience of the mind in understanding a situation yet not being overcome by the situation is strong. Yeah. So in that way, we have a position where the Manodvara Vajana affects the posture of the person. Then, intimation, the way that one would communicate. I don't think I need to explain, isn't it? Now you can understand in that same nature how that would happen. Yes, Damsiri, you want to say something?
It's very close, right? Bodily intimation and the posture. So what's the difference? How do you differentiate bodily intimation and the posture?
Okay. The posture is not a part of communication. Intimation is communication.
Right.
No?
Right.
It is a question of the purpose behind the movement, the phenomena.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, if you take it in this manner, now we are sitting somewhere, let's say you're going for an interview, long time ago, things that you all did long time ago. Yeah, so you're dressed up, and now you're a bit nervous also, you want to put your best foot forward. You go to the office where you are having your interview or whatnot. You are even putting your best foot forward with the receptionist or the reception person. Because the person is looking at you, you're sitting up straight, smart, not fiddling about. Yeah. Now that is intimation, not posture.
All right.
Right? That is intimation not posture. Right? Anything that you would use to communicate would fall under that image. Okay? Is that clear now? How Mano Dvara Vachana has Chitta the Rupa, has posture, and has intimation. Yeah? Moving on. Smile producing. Smile producing Chitta, which is a rootless functional Chitta, performs the task, gives way or gives rise, causes Chitta the Rupa to arise, posture, intimation, and of course, smiling. All three of it, right? All three of it. It is said to be an expression of insight, an expression of wisdom, isn't it? Now, if we remember the stories of where Venerable Ananda, Venerable Sariputta would ask Buddha, Bhante, why are you smiling? And the Buddha says Ananda, and he gives a reason, right? Ananda, if it was us, we would find that very annoying, yeah? You mind your own business, man. But the Buddha is so patient that he would explain why he's smiling. And you would find that the Buddha would give, okay, it is usually the Buddha knows something that happened to that person in the past, where that person is enacting by that same nature of some sort. It is an extension of the wisdom. It is a way that the Buddha would communicate. It is a way that the Buddha, and because of the authenticity of the smile, it also affects the posture of the body. Right? Because we know when a person smiles, right? Of course, the Hasitupada Chitta smile is quite different from the way that we would smile. However, a smile is almost, it is something, it's an expression that you can, of course, see the body affected by it as well. Right? When it comes from a smile. Hence, the smile producing Chitta causes Chitta the Rupa, posture, intimation, and of course, smiling, no question, right? Then we have the sense sphere wholesome joy, the sense sphere wholesome joy consciousness, right? Now, with regard to all of the Chitta the Rupas, for example, if you are happy with something, right? If you are happy with something, right? If you are happy with something, or if you are sad with something, let's say you are happy with something. And let's say that you are happy, you are enjoying yourself for a week or so, or for a month or so, you've been very happy. Does that not show in your skin? With you have a sense of glowing now. Something that Goenka meditators often say is, after a 10-day retreat, they find that they glow, right? They find that they glow. Why? Because they have been doing something which is so good. My father, actually, I remember when I went to a retreat and I came back home, he saw me because he didn't live with us. He was coming to visit. He saw me and he was like, Malla, you're glowing. And I said, I've just come back from a retreat. Very egotistically, I just came from a retreat, Dad. Right? It's because, and I remember when my father died, my mother was not in a good situation. And then I came down and, we were doing this for a month. We did this big dana of 100 monks, and I was planning it with my mother. So every single day, you know how Sri Lankans are, you know, if you give something, you want to give something well. So every day was something about the logistics, or how we are going to give, or what kind of china to use, or what kind of cutlery, and how the decorations might be, and what is a pirikara, you know, all of that hullabaloo, right? By the end of it, now I remember in the beginning, my mother had dark circles, she was wailing, she was crying, she was doing all of this, she didn't look at all good, right? She was not taking care of herself. But at the end of the dana, I remember so well, she was absolutely glowing, right? Because every day, every single day for a month, we were talking, discussing all about the dana, how to give well, how to, you know, make it comfortable, how to make it, all of these things. The kusala chitta or the akusala chitta would bring about chitta, the rupas, which align with the type of consciousness, right? Which aligns with the type of consciousness. I'm sorry, I have to take a call.
Hold.
Yeah, text 11:30. Yeah, 12 is fine. 12 $. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right. There was a night. Good night. All right. Now, equanimity, right? No, joy. So then you would understand now with a consciousness like joy. Now you see Chitta, the Rupa repeating itself, right? All the way down. Where are the positions that it doesn't have, that we do not have the production of Chitta, the Rupa? Take a look at the chart. Sense sphere, sense consciousnesses, the five, the set of five, the set of two, the five set of two, Dvipancha Vinyana. It doesn't produce conscious born matter. Why? No, don't tell me. I want to ask someone. Lettuce. Can you tell us why lettuce? Dvipancha Vinyana does not produce Chitta the Rupa.
They are the weakest.
Lovely.
Out of the lot.
Perfect. Right. Also, then we have, if we go all the way down, Anuma, can you tell us what? Anuma, can you tell us why Anuma is missing?
Yeah, I'm there one thing.
Immaterial sphere, right? Why does immaterial sphere resultant chittas? Why do they not produce chitta the Rupa? Immaterial sphere.
Yeah.
Vipaka chitta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that consciousness type not produce any Rupa based on consciousness?
It's because it's immaterial.
Because it's immaterial, correct. Because it is immaterial. There is no material.
I mean, there's no material.
Hari then nama.
Thank you, Bhante. It was so
All right. Now, so then we understand Chitta Rupa. Any type of consciousness, when it has an amount of power, when it arises, it also affects the body. The phenomena, which is materiality, as it arises. Okay, as it arises. So now we'll come to joy, postures, intimation, and smiling. Now, smiling, we know when we are happy, when we have something, receive something that we like, we smile, isn't it? That sense of liking arises here with sincere, wholesome joy. Honda kusal karma karama, when we do a wholesome karma, right, and we are happy about it, we smile, right? Now, then we have posture and intimation. Is it clear? Posture and intimation. Yes, Noeli.
Bhante, can I ask you a question, please? The 10 sense conscious, you said they are weak. The reason given is why they are weak? Is it because they are not associated with the jhana factors, and is that the reason?
Because where are they found, Noeli? Where are the Dvipancha Vinyana found? The 2 sets of 5. Where? What is the category of consciousness? Are they unwholesome?
They're unwholesome and wholesome, aren't they? The 5 each.
No. Go a bit above that bar on the chart. There kusala vipaka, akusala vipaka. Above that bar, if you remember, it said, what did it say? It is rootless. Amulaka consciousnesses, amulaka chitta. Because they have no root, ahetuka.
Yeah, that's one reason, because it's rootless, and the other one is because it's not associated with jhana factors, and
no, that is not a reason. Because,
that's not the reason.
For example, if you take sensory wholesome joy, these are also not jhana factors, right? These are also not jhana factors. Now, greed rooted, it does. Here, the only reason is the consciousnesses only give rise to a process owing to karma. They do not produce anything more than that. Because they have no roots. Because they have no roots. That's a simple only reason. Because they have no roots, they are weak. They cannot have the footing to develop any sort of karma or result after it. Right? So, then we have equanimity. Sense-sphere wholesome equanimity. Here, in the equanimity, the only thing that we do not have, Chitta Rupa is there, postures, intimation, but no smiling. Why is there no smiling? Because this type of consciousness is not the type of consciousness that smiles. Because you would smile with a sense of joy, but here it is equanimity. Is that clear? Look at the consciousness. Remind yourself what that consciousness is. It is a wholesome consciousness. It's a sense-sphere consciousness. However, the feeling of the consciousness is equanimous. The process of smiling indicates a sense of attraction. This consciousness, because it is equanimous, it does not have a feel of attraction. Right? It does not have a feel of attraction. Yes, Damsiri?
Can you explain for this case, wholesome joy or wholesome equanimity, how you get intimation and posture?
Think about it. The process of joy, right? Process of joy, when there is a process which runs on joy, right? Now let us say, even through mind-adverting processes, you are led on a path of joy. Chitta pasada. That chitta pasada would arise owing to these types. That would then create posture and intimation, isn't it? For example, let's say you go in front of a person that you so dearly respect, a parent, a teacher, a monk, a religious figure, someone spiritual, a holy place. Isn't it that you're sort of, almost that sort of, you behave with humility. You behave with a sense of obedience in a way, right? Because of the respect that you would have for the person, right? That comes out of this. You see, when it runs within the consciousness process, this consciousness running would create that intimation and posture, right? Intimation and posture. Is that clear, Damsiri?
Yeah, it's clear for joy, but for equanimity, because when you do with equanimity, even though we do something good, right? We do it with no care attitude, So,
being equanimous is not a sense of being nonchalant.
Okay.
Right? No, that's the thing. That is why even in the processes of samadhi, it is very difficult for a beginning meditator to enter into states of equanimity, because we are not used to this state of equanimity.
Okay.
Equanimity, we would equate it into not giving a care, but it is not giving a care. It is being within a position of non-friction and non-attraction.
Okay.
Right? Non-friction and non-attraction. Right? Whilst you're not sort of dispelling it, neither are you attracted to it. It is a position. It is almost, I think, with the experience that I assume most of us do have, is like that moment of darkness in samadhi.
Yes.
Not the moment that you come out of the samadhi. Not the moment that you come out and wonder, that was a nice thing. Now that is attraction, right? But when you're in the samadhi, you see as position, you're not pushing anything away, neither are you grasping at anything, right? I think that is the closest experience that we would have with equanimity as a feeling, right? As a feeling. Yeah. Understood, everyone. Yeah. All right. So then, because of the equanimity element, we do not have the smiling. Is that clear? Yeah. Then we have sense sphere resultant. Now, sense sphere resultant, what kind of things can this sense sphere resultant do? Who can tell me? Who can share with the rest? Sense sphere resultant consciousness, what can it do?
It's a patisandhiti.
The patisandhiti. Right? It forms the processes of patisandhi. Now, during the processes of patisandhi, right? You're not going to be smiling at Patisanti. You're not going to be communicating at Patisanti. You're not upholding a posture in Patisanti. But what you might be doing, no, you're not doing it as well, but what happens during the process of Patisanti is you're giving way, owing to that energy, you create Chitta Rupa. Right? You create Chitta Rupa. Owing to that karma that you passed away with from your previous birth. Is that understood? Yes? Clear, everyone? Okay. Hey, Mali, all good? Okay. Then we have the fine material sphere person. The fine material sphere person. Right? We have 5 consciousnesses. Now, these are what kind of consciousnesses? Who can tell me? Fine material sphere. Noeline, what kind of consciousnesses are they? It's your favorite type. They are jhana consciousnesses.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember.
They are jhana consciousnesses, right? Wholesome. So these are the consciousnesses by which you go into jhana, right? So what can it do? First of all, of course, it must be able to produce Chitta Rupa, right? It must be able to produce Chitta Rupa. Because you see a meditator in this position, you know for sure this person is in a deep state of calm, right? And that face that person makes, now Geeta, you might have seen this when you were on retreat, right? That person, the face that that meditator has on is not a sleepy face, isn't it? You know, it's not a face that you sleep with. It's not a face that you sort of, do anything with. It is a specifically, you see this radiance of concentration, calmness, really, right? Now that is brought about by Chitta Rupa. Chitta Rupa. Right? Yes, Damsini.
I think it's very visible if you see the Samadhi Pilima in Anuradhapura, because yeah, it's every expression is very visible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, they say when people sort of carve out Buddha statues, usually the Buddha statue has a small representation from the artist, on the face of the artist. So the Sri Lankan man who does Pilima, a person that I actually knew, asked him to do a statue for him. And the Buddha's face, usually it is only very subtle, but he took it a little bit too much. So it was the body of the Buddha, the Samadhi posture, all of that, but the face looked like the Basunya. So the face looked too much like the Basunya's face, right? who was making the Pilima, right? And of course, this man then scolded him, but yes, I think that's why Samadhi Buddha Pilima is so famous, because it has captured that moment so wonderfully, although it's not in its perfect sort of, element with erosion and all of that, but still you can see that calmness on that face, So yes, so we have Chitta Rupa and we have the posture, right? Chitta Rupa and posture. Is that understood? Right? Chitta the Rupa, and posture. Now, in Western, in sort of Western interpretations of how to go into jhana, people would say things like, or teachers might sometimes say things like, for example, having a smile on your face during the practice of meditation, right? Now, things like this, or doing things like this, now, you would not hear any of the ancient masters saying this sort of a thing, right? None of them, not anyone. Actually, the first time that I heard it myself was after, traveling to the West, and sort of, where they say, have a smile on your face. And I've never heard it from any of the masters I've been under, and although, but it has a communicative element, where when you have a smile on your face, you also communicate with your brain, your mind, in a happy, more not optimistic, but in a more happier sense, right? But as you go on, as you progress, you do not need parts like that to support your practice at all, right? At all. Having metta is not really having a happy face all the time. The embodiment of metta can be quite different to what is assumed of a person, right? So here, this would be something to then prove that fact, where there is no intimation or smiling in these sorts of consciousnesses, which are respectively jhana consciousnesses. Isn't it clear? Right? Moving on. Resultant. Fine material resultant is about patisandhi. Because it is about patisandhi, it only creates chitta the rupa. Only creates chitta the rupa. And then we have functional, right? And then we have functional. Functional is what kind of consciousness? It is the consciousness by which, Padma, can you tell us what kind of consciousness? The result, the functionals, what do they do?
I think I've forgotten that. Sorry. No. No. Forgotten that one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Noeli?
Is it the Arahants?
It is. It is a consciousness by which the Arahants attain jhana, right? So then again, what should this consciousness be able to do? Two things, chitta and posture. Am I correct? Yes, it is. Chitta and posture, right? Then we have immaterial sphere. In the immaterial sphere wholesome, this consciousness is arupa jhana, right? Immaterial jhana. Whilst practicing immaterial, the posture would be maintained, and of course, chitta the rupas are maintained, produced. Sorry. Then we have the resultant, which is patisandhi. So chitta the rupa is created, but postures are not created because there is no rupa by which a posture can be maintained, because it is immaterial, as Anova said, right? Then we have the functional. If an arahant attains to the immaterial jhanas, then the posture and chittadrupas are maintained. Now, during the practice of meditation, we sometimes find ourselves, we're so motivated to do well in our meditation that we worry about 100 things, right? We worry about 100 things. Now, sometimes even at home, for example, if you are the type of person at home who is always opinionated, who always wants to give your 2 cents, who has a very tough time backing down from something, right? If now this is not to point hands at anyone in any way, but we are talking about personalities. that sort of a personality is a personality mostly associated with vitarka, right? Some people might not understand vitarka, but they might relate to this example, right? Where, for example, when a thing happens, you have to say something about it. You can't wait without saying it. You have to make your voice heard and known, right? And communicate what you're feeling. But the thing is, when it comes to meditation, that is manifested, right? And it can be quite difficult if with your meditation, if this part is also not being slowly mended, if you're not becoming more aware of your daily life, the way that you react, then something that would often happen is you will come up, some altercation happens, you will come down. You will come up, altercation, come down. Come up, altercation, come down. Why? Because it's with manodvara vajana, mind adverting, it makes it difficult to maintain or maintain the suppression of the hindrances. Do you understand? To maintain the suppression of the hindrances is difficult. So what happens? You meditate, you go on a good one-day retreat, but this vitarka is too strong and there is no suppression there because you are not aware of it, or you think that there's no issue with it, or you think that it is quite all right, you think it is fair, you think all of these other things to standardize it. What happens is, because there is so much of attraction to that position, now the suppression can't happen. It keeps on bubbling up. It keeps on bubbling up, right? This is also a reason why many young people do not easily come into meditation practice or Dhamma practice, right? Although we have seen a lot of young people coming into this sort of mentality in recent years, a lot of young people in their mid-30s who have kids, all of this, they feel so overwhelmed with so many things going on in their life. Dhamma is not something that they easily sort of, get pulled towards, because the sense of hindrances are plummeting. Not to mean that this is something bad or they're living their lives in a bad way. It's that busyness, the vitarka in the mind. The vitarka in the mind, right? So here, as we go along, what we find is, with regard to the postures, when we are bothered about the posture, when we are worried about this or that or this or that and the other during our meditation, what's usually must then come, there is letting go in that aspect which allows you to now focus on one thing. That is the consciousness at hand. And when that happens, the posture, like it is mentioned in this chart, the posture is maintained. And let me tell you, when you are able to really find home within that moment of that specific consciousness, that respective element of mindfulness, for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours or more, you can stay in meditation. Actually, there was a lady in Burma, she was a tour guide, very beautiful lady, very soft spoken. She was my Dhamma mother's, I had a Dhamma mother in Burma. She was really nice to me and she ordained me. We have this Dhamma mother concept in Burma. They kind of adopt us and boss us around. Which is good, they're kind of like the, because monks and nuns don't, we leave our family, isn't it? So these people, what they do is they take over, like kind of like adopt, and they make sure that you study, they make sure that you're not fooling around, they make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to, they make sure that you're going to classes, or they'll come and scold you. Right? So this is my Dhamma mother. Her name was Do Chile. And she introduced me to this lady who was a tour guide. right? And she spoke French and another European language, and she used to, go about with these foreigners. So she had a lot of trips that she would often do. But when she meditated, right? When she meditated, she could meditate for 13 hours without moving. And I was completely shocked, right? I asked her, my question to her is, when did you stop working, right? Right? That was my first question when I learned of this. My first question to her was, when did you stop working? She said, no, I'm still working. But, when I'm working, I do smaller sessions. But when I'm not working, I do the longer sessions, right? So when she doesn't have clients, then she does the longer sessions, right? Where she meditates for 13 hours at a stretch without getting up, without drinking water, without going to the bathroom. 13 hours at a stretch. Amazing, isn't it? And very much lay people, right? So it is very much doable, and what we essentially need, this chart says it all. What we essentially need is focus and stability within that nature of the consciousness. If it is, for example, let's say it's a sensory or wholesome joy, stay there. If it is a fine material wholesome, stay there. If it is immaterial wholesome, stay there, right? That staying, that is the maneuvering that we discuss in different ways during our Saturday and Sunday sessions, right? During our Saturday and Sunday sessions, right? Right. Then we have the functional, which is again we discussed now. Then we have the supramundane, right? The supramundane consciousness, we know is the consciousness by which we attain. Even in that consciousness, the posture and chitta rupa is present. It develops chitta rupa and posture. The chitta rupa, these chitta rupas, please understand that they are different from one another, right? So high the jhana, high the glow, right? So if the secret to youthfulness is actually meditation, right? It's better than collagen treatments and facelifts, right? So, so get on that meditation. Then we have direct knowledge, abhinyana. Now, abhinyana cultivates chitta rupa. That is clear, right? Now, abhinyana is a miraculous powers, right? Maintains the posture because it is based on meditation, and also bodily intimation, bodily movement with regards to the performance. And even if you're walking on the air, moving through walls, or walking with dibba chakku, whatever it is, that is intimation, right? That is intimation. Hence, the abhinyana chittas can perform or bring about or cause material phenomena through chitta rupa, posture, and intimation, bodily and verbal. Is that understood? Right? Any questions? Yes, let us.
Bhante, what are the two abhinya chittas? Is it the wholesome direct knowledge abhinya for the trainees, and for the arahats, the functional?
That's a good question. Now, what are the two abhinyana chittas? Who remembers the two abhinyana chittas? Who wants to give it a go?
Oh, is it the fourth and the fifth jhanas?
Chittas that perform the function of abhinyana. What are the two abhinyana chittas? Mala?
Jhanas.
Sorry?
Bhante is the fifth jhana in the fine material, but I thought Abhinya has got 6 factors: Dibbu Chakku, Dibba Sota, Chitta Vijnana, Pubbeni Manasanatana, and then Irdhi.
And those are the powers of the consciousness, isn't it? What are the two that provide the proof of Dibba Chakku? I'm sorry, any sort of miraculous power. Dibba Chakku, Dibba Sota, that is all that falls under the types of avidya, right? Those are what are the powers specifically? What are the consciousnesses?
Sorry, Bhante, on page 142, it explains the two I just said.
Okay. 142. What are
Yes.
they then?
It's the wholesome direct knowledge chitta of the fifth jhana, worldlings and trainees. The second is the functional in arahants.
Yes, because abhinyana can only be performed by those who go up to the fifth jhana, no one below, right? Owing to the strong determination element which comes about through the focus available to a fifth jhana meditator, right? Owing to a fifth jhana meditator. Now, for example, when a person who meditates, right? When a person who has very strong meditative ability, right? This person even maybe once, chants some pirit into a water, or even a mantra, or even a small sort of, metta vibration into water, that water itself becomes very powerful. Right? That water itself becomes very powerful, and this is also scientific. The vibration that you can put into something, not because of anything else other than the purity of mind, gives you the ability to direct focus with keen intellect towards anything. So even if a person is to, for example, touch your head or just look at you and radiate thoughts of loving kindness towards you, that becomes something which is very powerful. Now, let me tell you a story. Actually, this lady who just called me, right? Now, after her mother died, right, she started becoming possessed, right? She believed that the mother was possessing her, and it was quite bad, right? It was quite bad, and the kids were young, and all of that. It was quite embarrassing to all of them as well, because they came from a very eminent family, and they didn't want it to get, you know all of this, in Colombo. So they were trying Bali Natua, Toila Natua, Puja, Tibba. They spent millions upon millions to get rid of this, right? And they couldn't, right? So I think for about 2 or 3 years, she was suffering with it. She was suffering with it. She was suffering with it. And while she was out, so I'm not going to say where, because then if someone listens, they will probably know who the person is. So I'm not going to say where, but they went to this holy site in India, and while they were there was this very eminent, very respected Sri Lankan yogi monk who was down at the location. He was meditating himself. He spends most of his time in India, meditating in the foothills and all these religious Badrinath, Kedarnath, Kailash, Himalayas. He spends most of his time there. So he had luckily come to this place. And so like everyone knew, everyone in that location knows who he is, and they knew who he was as well, but they had not met him before. And so she, all her friends sort of egg her on to go and tell him, like, get a blessing, blah, 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 and pushes her to sort of go and speak to him. And then sort of he was doing his walking meditation, and then she goes and she sort of worships, and she's standing and she's like telling, oh, Bhante, I had this, I've been suffering, or it might be my mother, blah, 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 telling her the whole story. And then, like, as she's saying, he closes his eyes and he starts radiating metta. That's his thing. That's how he does it, right? And then she feels like a thundering knock, like someone with a big fist hit her on her back. Right now, this is open. It was not the monk who hit her. Just if you imagine that, it's not. This is open air, right? Because something like that happened, you see, something like that happened where a monk was hitting this woman to kick the yakka out, of the body. It didn't work. I think she went to the police afterwards because the monk was hitting her. But, she felt this thundering knock on her back, which actually hurt her. And she sort of opened her eyes and she was feeling very uncomfortable. And then she had come back, she had worshipped the monk, she had come back to her friends, and she had just started sobbing. And since that day, she did not get possessed, right? Or she did not act out in the way that she did, right? Since that day. So she has all this respect towards this monk, right? So the power of metta is very, very, very powerful. I had a personal experience where there was this family that I knew in Dummala Surya. Dummala Surya is near Chilao, right? And the mother was who knew me. That children live in the UK, who knew me. She was a very pious woman, Abhidhamma, Piritki, she was a very pious woman, but her house was severely haunted because she had bought this property from some other people. And, the father literally had, like, he was like a potato, he was not in a medical coma, but he would just sit in his wheelchair. It was an absolute sad situation. I remember going into the house. It was a very nice house, big house, but it was, when you walk into some houses, very dark and very gloomy, and the vibe is just, off a bit. Right now, I am not a shaman. I am not, Kapumatya, Guru Matse, I'm not any of these things. Right? But at the time, I had just come down from Burma, and I really believed in the power of vibrations and metta. So, literally, I told them to sort of give me a bowl of water, and I chanted some pirit, and I told them to wait inside the house, and I walked around the land. It was this coconut estate. And I walked around the land, the house, chanting metta, radiating metta from the bottom of my heart. And it worked. Within a week, the father started speaking as usual. His memory loss went away. The house was all light. All the problems disappeared. The harvest from the crop started growing again. And nothing, all of the problems that they had inside the family, the sickness, the illness, all of that just disappeared. Right? The power of metta is very, very strong. And it is, the more that your focus is, that your possible that you're able to master, the more powerful the metta, those vibrations can be, right? That is the end of my story. Yes, Devika.
I have a question. In the sense, it's a mystery to me. How can one get possessed?
Sorry, what?
How does one get possessed? I don't understand how a person can get possessed.
Well, even in the Dhamma, it says, it talks about something called Chitta Chitta, right? I believe that this can be also chemical imbalance of a person, right? And with certain that it can be sort of cured, right? However, there are certain, I also believe in the supernatural part of things, but also in the science part of it as well. Sometimes people's minds are, can be very weak, and they can believe that they are possessed in a certain way. Their thoughts can be so loud. For example, I honestly believed when I was young that I was actually possessed because my mind, it was so busy, you won't imagine, it was almost as if another person was living inside my mind. So, so I actually thought, because I was a Catholic at the time, I actually thought that the devil was living inside of me. So I was going to church and I was praying for God to take the devil out of me. And this is and this is something that I truly really believe, right? So I do believe in the scientific aspect of the chemical imbalances of people, but I think we have to be sensitive to both sides to also sort of understand a person's situation and to come up with a solution for it. You know what I mean? So in Dhamma, it's called Chitta Chitta, but Chitta Chitta can mean two things. Chitta Chitta can also be a chemical imbalance in Dhamma. It can also be a possession, being possessed, right? Chitta Chitta is the mind that is tempered, right? The mind that is tempered, Chitta, K-H-I-T-T-A, Chitta. Right, so coming back to the lesson 250, page number 250. Dhamma Center ke devalaya patan gatta nam direct debate tawa වැඩි වෙයි නේද?
OMG, Bhante, OMG.
People will have more shatta. Just imagine me with a bell and ringing it. All right, coming to the page 250. Temperature as a mode of origin. The fire element, which comprises both cold and heat, on reaching its stage of presence, produces, according to circumstances, both internal and external material phenomena originating from temperature. Both internal and external material phenomena originating from temperature. Again, the fire element comprises both cold and heat. On reaching its stage of presence, produces, according to circumstances, both internal and external material phenomena originating from temperature, right? Originating from temperature. Let's see what that is. Material phenomena originating from temperature, beginning from the stage of presence at the moment of rebirth linking, the internal fire element found in the material groups born of karma combines with the external fire element and starts producing organic material phenomena originating from temperature. Again, beginning from the stage of presence at the moment. Now the stage of presence is Upada Titi Banga, right? The Titi moment, the presence, the arising, the possessing, the passing away, dissolution, the presence, the middle part. Beginning from the stage of presence at the moment of rebirth linking, the internal fire element found in the material groups, born of karma, combines with external fire element and starts producing organic material phenomena originating from temperature. Thereafter, the fire element in the material groups, born of all four causes, produces, born of all four causes, Chittada, Kammaja, Uttuja, Aharaja. Understand? Right? Born of all four causes, produces organic material phenomena born of temperature throughout the course of existence. Throughout. Thereafter, the fire element in the material groups born of all four causes produces organic material born of temperature throughout the course of existence. Externally, temperature or the fire element also produces inorganic material phenomena such as climate and geological transformation, right? Such as climate and geological transformation, right? Geological transformation. Now, what do you think about that? Material phenomena originating from temperature. Shall we read through it one more time? Beginning from the stage of presence at the moment of rebirth linking, the internal fire element found in the material groups born of karma combines with the external fire element and starts producing organic material phenomena originating from temperature. So from there is internal temperature, there is external temperature. External temperature being the foundation which the mother's womb, for example, offers the egg through its time of fertilization. Now when the Kammaja Rupa appears, right? Now when the Kammaja Rupa appears, this Uttu and the external Uttu comes together to form, to continue the arising of material phenomena, right? Thereafter, the fire element in the material groups born of all four causes produces organic material phenomena born of temperature throughout the course of existence. Throughout the course of existence, right? I'm sorry, I'm still on that joke I just made because one of our drivers, he quit his job, right? My friend's driver, you know, he quit his job and he went and became a pusali. It was so funny because he called the manager of the house, the lady who manages or the maid, and he said, madam ta kiyanna mama දැන් මේ අංජනංගෙදි බලනවා මට හොඳට බලන්න පුළුවන් ඔක්කොමලට එන්න කියන්නේ. It was so funny. From driver to pusali, I just remembered it, you know. All right, so sorry. Coming back to temperature, right? So remember, in terms of karma, we earlier spoke of this instance where when you have a karma which has to affect the whole body, the Kammaja Rupa appears, the Kammaja Rupa affects the internal kammaja rupa that appears affects the external kammaja rupa. Now, for example, if it is a rash, let's say it's like a rash which comes about with sweat, for example, right? This internal kammaja rupa influences the external rupa through external uttu, which then creates a foundation for that kamma to go all along the body. Do you understand? Right? Now, keeping that in mind, let's continue reading. Thereafter, the 5 element in the material groups born of all causes produces organic material phenomena born of temperature throughout the course of existence. Externally, temperature, fire element also produces inorganic material phenomena such as climatic and geological transformation. There you go, right? That same uttu, right? That same uttu can create that sense of, now when it comes to, for example, gati nimitta, right? Now you have a powerful kamma to go to hell, to go to avicii, right? There are instances where people not only see, but people feel the fire. They feel warm, they're always warm, they're sweating, they're burning almost. They feel so warm, but it's cold outside, right? Now you see kammaja rupa affecting the bahira utu, hence giving the feel of that heat, but the other person can't feel it. The other person in the room can't feel it, but you can feel it. Do you understand? Right? It is a phenomena of how kamma resultants work. Right? It is a phenomena of how kamma resultants work. Right? Let's go on. Okay. Any questions?
Bhante, is it the first one is as someone immediately after the rebirth linking consciousness, you have the series of karmaja rupa, right? And one after 8th or 9th karmaja rupa is actually Rutja rupa, which maintains the temperature of the newly born life, right? And then that Irtuja rupa, that karmaja rupa, now sort of react to the external Irtuja rupa, that is the outside temperature, humidity, and various conditions. So that's how they explain this sort of phenomena, or any relationship with this explanation. I have heard this explanation given by Bhante Valimada Dinalankara. So
can you repeat that again?
Explain that means during the once rebirth linking consciousness is appeared, and immediately or simultaneous almost all the kammaja rupa appears. The first 3 is actually what we call it kaya, bhava, and vastu. And then you start actually gradually, after so many, then gradually you start what is called Sota, Gana, Jibha, Chakku, and then comes the Urtuja. That Urtuja is actually, it's in initial phase, it's a Karmaja Rupa. It's Karmaja Rupa in the phase of Urtuja, and that maintains the temperature of the newborn embryo. And that's the starting point of the temperature maintenance. And even after the birth, the Irtuja Rupa actually maintains the temperature in relation to external Irtuja Rupas, which is climate or external temperature, whether it is you have AC or not, and that sort of humidity levels. So is it the same thing what explained here?
But it has not gone into that depth to break it into the dasakas. But
yeah,
because now, if we would put it in this way, the growth of the fertilization, the maturation of the cell, right, the reproductive cell, right, is dependent upon two factors. That is the energy and the potency of the cell, as well as the energy and the potency of the mother. Right? Now, whilst a child could have the ability, or this embryo could be, let's say, there's also consciousness, could have the ability to mature and flourish into a proper, fully well sort of, a proper child, without any sort of, I'm sorry, I say proper child.
Independent life. Yeah.
Yes, to have come into this world.
Yeah.
Also, the mother might not have the ability to go through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, that manifestation of heat, right? Mm-hmm. That manifestation of heat is brought by the mother's side, but is also a facilitation of the energy of the child.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Facilitation of the energy of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Is both. This can be spoken of both as the karma of the child and the karma of the mother.
Mm-hmm.
But not interlinking with each other.
No, okay. Yeah.
But independent karma, because the child also comes into such a position because of the child's karma, the mother also has that position because of her karma.
Yeah.
Right? Because of her karma. So it is a mutual engagement of energies there.
Yeah.
Because I think fine, the fertilization process starts, but the egg cannot be or hold itself onto the sort of the womb. So then with the menstruation cycle happening, it sort of goes away.
Yeah.
There are these different sort of things that happens, things that happen with stress or whatever it is, that is both the karma of the mother and also the behavior, not just karma, the behavior and all of these things, as well as a child. But yes, Tamsiri, that is the utu of the child. I won't use the word reacting, but it is the foundation, or not the foundation also. It is the climate, the environment that is available towards the condition. The utu becomes a condition, a supporting condition, but rather than a reaction of sorts.
Interaction. Bhante. Oh, something happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Interacting the Rutuja Rupa of the child and the outside, external Rutuja.
That's the word to think about.
Yeah.
That is a word to think about, because I feel like, because the child's life is independent.
Yes.
Although independent, there are supporting factors. If that is so, using the word interaction is a little bit too intimate to explain the process which might happen. For example, if you is a filament bulb and leaving it in a box of eggs and giving the chicken eggs the heat. The heat is a condition, the eggs mature based on that available condition. But if we say it is an interaction, whether the internal heat mixes with the outside heat is not what is in question here. The inside heat is maintained with the help of the outside heat.
Yes. Yeah.
There, I feel like the word interaction might be a bit displaced.
Yeah.
You know, but I think we get the point.
Yeah, we have to find a word for that.
All right, it's 8:32. So let's continue next time, yeah? Let's continue next time. Sutta class is happening this week. and tomorrow is Pushpa's birthday, so we are all wishing her a very early wishes for her birthday as well. So actually, in Sri Lankan time, it is already her birthday. So Pushpa, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Pushpa. So take care, everyone. I will see you all on Wednesday. And yes, so that is it.
Thank you, Bhante.
All right.
You.
Take care.
Thank you, Bhante.
Everyone saranai Bhante.
Teruvan saranai Bhante.
Thank you, Teruvan Saranai.